Mm. Hey y'all, welcome to the Devon A. Morris Unfiltered call-in show. Have a seat. You have any questions? Come on, call in. Come on to that Discord channel. Do me a favor, get the Unfiltered crew some finger snaps. We're ready to get started here. Mondays, 8 p.m. Every single Monday, we're here. I'm excited about it. Are you? Let's get this show started, y'all. The greatest scrum show on earth. I'll see y'all soon. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another show. This is like show number 12. Like, for real. We've been doing it for some time. So, welcome to the Devon A. Morris Unfiltered show. We talk about Agile, Scrum, entrepreneurship, maybe even some motivational stuff along the way. So, we kind of get down and do our thing just right in here. One of the things that I always like to do is go ahead and thank the crew, the Unfiltered crew, in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and pull them up. As usual, they never show up. They show up sometimes and they wave. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of pull them up. They're there now. So just wave at them, say hi to them. They're there. And we're missing probably one or two, but you get the idea. They're always helping me in the background, and I'm always very grateful. And we have some lovely yet interesting conversations always in the background. So I really do truly enjoy having them involved and helping me out, helping us out moving forward. So that being said, it's been an interesting little week. We have some important things coming up this actual week. I have a Scrum class as well as an advanced certified Scrum Master class coming in a few days. And so that'll be this Wednesday and Thursday. But one of the things that we do have that's coming in the very near future is another hardship class, another hardship CSM, CSPO that's happening April 5th and 6th. And then that's the CSM. And then the CSPO is going to be happening the actual 7th and 8th. Also, I'll be doing a meetup on April the 1st. And we'll be talking about forecasting during that meetup, and that's with Scrum professionals out in California. So just getting around doing things, and along the way we're promoting the show as well. So and then people understand what we're doing, can be a part of this movement, because I've realized that what we have right now, we have a very unique movement, people. And I like the fact that we have a movement. I actually love the fact that we have a movement. So first thing I want to make sure that I do is say, hey y'all, if you haven't done so already, subscribe. That's the statement. Subscribe. Why do I want you to subscribe? Because it helps out everything else. Like the show as well. So subscribe and also like the show. That's going to help us out with all our metrics and everything else. Get this show put in front of other people. And then we're going to divide the pieces up and send them out this week or something like that when we definitely get the opportunity to. So people can see the smaller bites, because, I have people that come to class and they're just like, okay, I've seen the show. I like the show. We need more people to see the show. So that's a good thing. That's a plus. Also, what I want to do is I want to actually have a conversation with you to say to you, if you have anything you want to talk about in reference to asking questions, you need to join our Discord channel. So you join our Discord channel and our moderators will take care of you. So this is going to be an interesting conversation tonight, because we're going to talk about interviewing, and I do have a guest that wanted to talk about interviewing. So we're going to kind of get ourselves going, and people will see it and will join in. So I'm going to kind of get ourselves started and get us going here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in our first guest. Hey there, Darla. You are here with me. Can you hear me?
Hey, Devon. How are you?
I am excellent. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
It's been a while.
It
And
has been.
you're preparing for greatness.
I'm
So
preparing for greatness.
tell me what's going on.
Okay, so I have an interview in the morning.
Okay.
I just found out, like, I don't know, maybe Friday, that
Mm-hmm.
I would be meeting. I didn't know who I was meeting with initially.
Okay.
He's going to be a director of an agile portfolio lead. I have
Okay.
several interviews. I have all day interviews tomorrow. I don't
Okay.
know exactly what he's going to ask me. I know that he's going to present a hypothetical business case.
Okay.
Um, they said, be prepared to agile will probably be part of the conversation given his position in the
Okay.
company. They're
Yes.
going to present me with a case that they want me to solve. They said, what you do is you take all of your business experience along with agile and answer that question. Do you
Okay.
have any interview tips for success?
Well,
Like I said, I know it may be a hard question because I and don't
well,
know what he's going to ask.
and it is a hard question, but let's talk about. Let's just take a step back, okay?
Okay.
Because I want you to start off in a certain place, okay? You have definitely heard about active listening, okay? And so one of the big things that I want you to do um, through the interview is make sure you are actively listening, okay? Now, just to kind of give you an idea, you know, you know that you may have limitations, but here's what you need to know. They don't know what you don't know, okay? So you may have limitations, but don't worry about that. You have way more experience in stuff than we tend to recognize, and interviews just kind of throw us off. So make sure that you are actively listening because I guarantee you, you have enough experience and then you add the agile flavoring to it. Now, let's talk about this from a simple perspective. The business is more concerned about what? Meeting more than likely strategic initiatives that where the organization wants to go. So they're going to be more focused on something that's related to that. So we're talking about at this point business value. We're talking about return on investment. We're talking about things that fall in that arena. Now, where are the primary sources? Well, what are the value sources that you typically find? I'll ask you that question right now. So when you think about return on investment, what are some value sources that you typically find? Well, market value, capability building, reduction. Those are the classic three that lead to everything else. So if you put your business hat on, forget agile. Now understand, forget agile for a second here. And what would the business people want? They would likely want to see something that is going to be related to them being more successful with moving the organization in a direction that they're trying to move them in. And there's always going to be an agile spin to that. Now,
Mhm.
you know the Agile Manifesto, right? You know the values, okay? You know individual interactions, right? Working software over processes and tools, right? Um, Customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. You know, so obviously, whenever it comes to these things that we're thinking about, capability building, risk reduction, market value, and you think about the Agile Manifesto and leaning more toward that left direction, now what you're doing is you're taking that business mindset and those things you know from a business mindset, because even if you're a part of IT, you have an idea of some of the strategic things that the business has asked for over the years. And whether they call it business value or they call it just value in general, it all points toward one of those three things. Classically, if they're calling it business value, then it normally is more focused in on risk reduction and capability building. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because they may have a whole sales department that are more focused on, return on investment or market value, positioning, and things of that nature. So now as you think, you're going to listen. You know your limitations, so don't worry about that because again, they don't know what you don't know, right? but you can always focus on what you know and always try to bring the conversation back there. Now, as you sit there and as you go through tonight, I need you to start relaxing your mind. Does that make sense? Relax your mind, ease your spirit, ease your soul, ease everything that you're kind of going through in terms of being antsy, ease all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, I just want you to visualize the other side. The other side is you being a part of that organization. Now, if you relax your mind and vision yourself on the other side, then it just turns into a different place. Are they worthy of having you there? Because once you get to the place where you're starting to kind of let go of these jitters and you really know that if you're working closer to the business, they are really trying to see results. And you know they're trying to see results. So you can think from a results standpoint. And you have to remember that Agile is all about probably getting results at a minimum, feedback sooner. Okay. So now just start putting your mindset there. But you're listening at every single thing that they're asking. You're relaxing your mind. You're not worrying about those limitations. Um, they'll try to trick you. You got to stay alert. So make sure you're ready for whatever tricks they come to play with. Also remember that the business doesn't have to care about Agile. They don't have to care about Agile whatsoever. The organization doesn't have to care about pure Scrum. Okay, they care about getting results. So now
Mhm.
that you are listening, relaxing your mind, positioning yourself to ask questions to make sure they're a good fit later, you're staying right there with them. If you do those things, it's going to allow you to show them that you're enthusiastic and that you're a good fit. Because one of the biggest things that they're looking for beyond you being excited is we got 10 people in here that all got the basic same skills. Which one of these 10 people is going to be the best fit within our environment, within our culture, for this particular team? So now, as you start to pull yourself back, now you're saying to yourself, okay, you're just trying to make sure you're a good fit for them. Because the problem you have is that you can be the perfect candidate and it just still be the wrong timing. Just simply the wrong timing. You get all the questions answered right, and it's just the wrong timing. We're not going to worry about any of that stuff. But I want you to make sure that you are thinking from that business perspective. Now, let's add and let's flip Agile onto that. Okay? And understand I'm not flipping Scrum because they could bring SAFe to you. They could bring the Scaled Agile framework to you. They could bring Kanban to you. It doesn't matter which framework they're talking about. The business is going to be more interested in results at the end of the day. Does that make sense?
It does.
And so, in all those things, you ultimately want to see results. Now, classically, you know, most of the time when I'm working with the business, they have more interest in they be more connected with a Scrum versus a Kanban because Kanban is classically in operations and stuff like that, right? And if it's something operational, something they can get a quick change, yeah, no problem. But regardless of what it is, they want to see whatever they're asking for be done on the other end so they can get whatever return on investment they're looking for. So that's the way I want you to think. I want you to kind of put your mind in that place where you can prepare yourself and get those jitters kind of pushed to the side. And I believe that after the first question they ask you, you'll get those jitters put to the side. Most of them was in that position before, and with you said this guy, this person that is the lead over the agile practice, that he's new.
No, he's not new. All
Okay.
I know is he's the director of Agile Portfolio. He's the uh, director of an Agile Portfolio lead
Okay.
position.
Now that already says to me that there's hierarchy that exists, right? And maybe
Right.
some major hierarchy that exists. You don't know if he's the top guy in the whole thing. There could be several practices that exist that are similar, associated with particular lines of business. So you just don't know. I wouldn't worry about any of that stuff, right? The idea is that he's associated with Agile, associated with the business, and you got to make sure those things meld together. You got to make sure those two things mesh together. Now, when I think about it, okay, you're a CSM, right? Did you become a CSPO?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So now you remember in the CSPO training, we were talking about things like return on investment. We talked about things like value sources. We really, really talked about how you really go about and make sure your end result, you're driving toward return on investment. And what position are you applying for?
The position is called, it's a senior manager position, senior manager, project manager IT. That's the title.
So you're not going to be really working on the development team. You're not going to be the product owner. You're not going to be the scrum master based from what I can tell, right?
Right.
Okay. So that means now the question becomes the next thing that I would put out there for you is the idea behind metrics and how you're going to measure these things. Okay. Now, he could be directly associated with IT. And if he is, then likely they're going to be thinking about things like story points, stuff like that. If he's associated with the business, then they will probably be thinking about things like time saved,
Mm-hmm.
capability building more than anything else, risk reduction, because those are the most internal things that happen. He may not be thinking about things like how many units sold off the shelf of X, Y, Z thing that they're trying to sell, right? So you have some good idea. So you in management, now you got to think about metrics. Now you got to think about how you're going to help position your team. Okay. Now you got to think about if something goes wrong with the business, how are you going to make that work? Because I guarantee you, in the scenario that they're probably going to give you, is going to be some disaster happened associated with the business. And now, what do you do to help solve the problem? And you're not solving that problem from a Scrum Master perspective. You're solving that problem more globally from a manager perspective and making the director look good. Trying to make the director look really, really good is what you're really doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so metrics help to drive that. And you having an understanding of, the place that story points play, where they're at, that they're simply an estimate, that they can be used for things like helping to forecast. You remember when we did in class the velocity exercise and how we, did that activity where we had to move things around, right, from a perspective of a product owner. Those are things that they could very well bring up, like, what happened if they really need to get something out the door, but you guys don't have no more time and there's X amount of defects and all this just situation just kind of blew up. But you can drive a lot of those conversations through thinking about from a metrics perspective. Does that make sense?
It does.
So for you, I'm going to say, I believe you have the tools to have 90% of that conversation. I think you really have the tools to have 99% of that conversation. That extra 9% is nervousness. So we
Mm-hmm.
need to let that nervousness ride out a little bit. Does that make sense?
It does.
And
It does.
and I've always gone in looser when I didn't guarantee myself I was going to get the job. That's always been me. If I don't guarantee myself and I don't make it into this thing is bigger than what it is, because they're all human, they're all looking for someone to come in and provide greatness. The other aspect of it is going to be now you got to deal with politics, so they may throw something in there related to politics as well. So it's going to be this perfect storm of here's the perfect question we can give you that no matter how you answer it, there will not be a perfect answer. Okay,
Right.
so go with your gut in terms of answering that question. And I think it would be very helpful for you. Okay. Does that make sense
Yeah.
in
It
terms
does.
of where I'm
It
going?
does. And I'll definitely let you know the outcome. I have this interview, and then I also am being considered for the second interview with Amazon. There I will be heavily using the CSM portion, heavily. But
Okay.
that interview, we'll see. I'll find out more information and I may end up back on this channel with you.
Well, the thing is that regardless of which interview it is, the focus. You know that what they're kind of in, kind
Yeah.
of weaving in there is all that agile stuff.
Hmm.
So all that agile stuff is really about delivery and positioning for delivery. And so it's really delivery, feedback, delivery. And being in a position where you either position your teams to do that or you are part of helping to make that happen. But it still is delivery, delivery, delivery. When you start thinking about these large organizations, it's more feedback first until you get to the point where you have enough stuff where everybody feels like it's worth delivering. So you got to think about that as well. The other things that you may want to ask them about over time, especially you get a question in here or there, you get some people that interview you first, and then can ask a question or two. Ask them about how much power their product owners have. If they're talking about the business, what kind of things do their product owners do? Are their product owners writing stories, or is it done by a business analyst? Okay, that makes a difference, because then you can ask the question of how much is the business analyst really involved with the business, right? That's going to have an impact, because the question becomes, when you have your development team and they're sitting there with the scrum master, the product owner, depending on where they're at, right? Does that product owner really interface with the business, the users, like they're supposed to? Do you have a business analyst that must do that, may get a chance to do it, may not get a chance to do it? If you have an opportunity to squeeze in that question or try to think about how their teams are shaped, it's going to help you answer questions moving forward in the right way. Now, remember, there's an ideal place that we want to go, and then there's a realistic place, right? And
Right.
I found it valuable in interviews to be able to describe both if I have an opportunity in, short, succinct ways, right? Here's the ideal place. We don't all do it ideal, but here's realistically what would likely happen. And as long as you're able to phrase it up that way, they know your book stuff, but I don't want you to be book stuff alone, because what they want is your experience beyond that book stuff. So we
Right.
know ideal, and ideal will get you killed. I mean, it really will get you killed in the real world. So you know the ideal place, but then also know, hey, here's realistically what most likely will happen, and here's how I would handle it in this particular situation. As long as you're thinking like that, you have no problem taking it to the next level. You have no problem with that interview, and you will walk out of that interview being very proud of what you are doing, because it's not about, the truth is, at a manager level, you're going to be doing more managing people than anything else.
Yeah.
You're going to be more following Tuckman's model of trying to get teams to move from forming through storming and then norming to performing. That's going to be more what you're doing as a manager. So then the question becomes, how do you help to shepherd these teams, empower these teams to be the best teams that they can be? And that's going to be making the practice ultimately look good as well, because you are taking these teams to the next level. So as a manager, since you're not involved in the weeds of every day, it's that thing that you will more than likely be tasked with, because it changes, because as a manager, now you have these people that you likely will manage, and now you got to shepherd their agile careers in some direction that's
Right.
going to help them be as successful, or be able to replace you. And whenever I think about it in an interview, I talk about how I'm positioning people to be in the best place where they can be at, so and then we can do the best and have the best team possible. So just remember that position, and that position is a management position, not necessarily a doer position. And
Right.
you do want to show that you have some of those management chops and the ability to handle the team. Is probably going to be where the interview will land closer to. So just be a little bit careful about that because management is very different than the people that's on the ground doing it. And the the thing about management is that you'll be mid-level management, right? And mid-level management has a problem when it comes to most of these agile frameworks. A lot of times they don't necessarily have a place. And since they don't have a place, it turns into all kinds of other things. So you want to make sure that you show them we have a place. We're going to be positioned these teams to be the best that they can be, and that you're also working it from that management perspective. Does that make sense?
Does. Yes.
Now that was not the only question you had, and I know that I went long-winded on that question.
No, that was the main, that was the main question, given that you don't know what they're going to ask. It's a business case. You don't know what it's going to be. All you know is that you're going to be taking all of your experiences. Agile will be part of it. It may be a little bitty part. I don't know. The
Yeah.
other question is, well, I was wanting to see like what. Well, I think I've answered that. I think you've answered that question that
Mm-hmm.
I have and everything that you said.
Okay.
I was going to ask some questions based off of this. I guess I'll have to see what the use case is because I was wondering, is there any particular question? Being that he is a director of an agile portfolio, that's what they're calling director of agile portfolios. There, are there any particular questions that you think I should ask him?
Well, I mean, the question is where does he see the practice moving in the future?
Okay,
That's really the most major question that you need to ask him. What is his dreams for the practice itself?
okay,
Because he's not the biggest fish there. One, I'm assuming that he wants to move on to some he or she, because it could be a she. Then they could be moving on to someplace different, and they may want to do that at some point in their future, right? And so they want obviously to have a bigger kingdom at some point. So now the question is, how do you help position a practice to be in a better position? Okay.
okay,
And so it's things like if I am talking to a director, one of the biggest questions I probably would ask them is, what is the agile community like here? Okay. They're the
hmm,
ones that's over the agile practice. What is the agile community like? What kind of things do we do to help our teams move forward and be better team members? Do people have an opportunity to train? Do people have an opportunity to go to conferences? Do you value higher level certifications? How do we keep I'm saying a lot of things super fast, but I think you understand what I'm saying, right?
absolutely.
How do I is there do we have any incentives that help to keep people motivated? People are motivated by purpose, autonomy, and mastery. What are we doing to keep them motivated? Do we do special things like hackathons? Just a 1 day of a quarter where you can work on anything you want to work on. Do you have possibilities for that? How are we being innovative, right? What does innovation look like in a building? And are we a part of that innovation wave that happens? I'm thinking about things like that. And, the bigger question is I'll probably ask if I had the opportunity to talk to them, I'll probably ask them, where do you see this role going in the next year or two? What do
Okay,
you see the person in this role moving toward or going to in the next year or two? And I'm looking for words like this. I want to position you to replace me. I'm looking
right.
for things like that, right? Because that tells me whether they're really in it for the kind of altruistic nature of agile, or they're just in it to make what they can make out of it and keep it moving. You know, um, you know, One of the things is, and I see in the comments, and I'll kind of throw this comment up on the screen. The truth is, and this is a very true statement. A lot of times, agile practices don't last long. In this case, what he's saying here, Jason is saying,
Hmm.
the biggest issue is that agile practices are over in the next 18 months. And the truth is, a lot of organizations, the leadership is done in the next 3 years. Like literally, management at the highest levels are done in the next 3 years. So if you can do a little bit of research, see how long those executives have been there, if they've been around a little bit of time, That might be a
Okay.
little bit helpful for you understand the stability of leadership there. But
Okay.
you want to see where they dream of taking this place. Now, if you start hearing things like that sound very waterfallish, okay,
Yeah.
then that might be a statement that they're only doing this because it's just a good show right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to mean that you're going to have a lot of difficulty moving forward. But if you hear those altruistic, we're really trying to do this, we're really trying to do that, you will be able to tell in what they're saying, and you'll know because it'll be something that will get you a little bit excited. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
It does.
Because it's one of those things where I'm assuming that you want your career to grow, and you
Right.
want somebody who can lead you there. So now this is your opportunity to question them as your leader.
Okay.
If I have an issue that I see, are you okay with me coming to you with it? If if I have a disagreement with somebody in the business, are you going to have my back? If I'm wrong, will you tell me I'm wrong? But if I'm right, are you going to have my back and go to bat for me behind closed doors?
Right.
You want to get that feeling that that person is going to be there to give you that support, because the thing about having that safety net is that it allows you to take more risk. It
Okay.
allows you to feel more comfortable in being there. So make sure that you figure out what where they see this position going, and so you can have an opportunity to interview them. So that will be a major plus. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, that's good. So what
Thank
else were
you,
you thinking?
Devon.
Well, that was easy, dog. I thought you had a whole billion questions, man. I was ready to
I
be here a whole
know.
2 days talking to you. Like
I know.
we
I've
get
just
the
been trying
last minute interview, and we like her interview was ready to go right now.
to.
And okay, come on, we gotta stop talking about this. You gotta go to your interview now. Come on, let's get off this thing on live here. No, I think you'll do. I think you do very well. I'm gonna say
Thank
it to
you.
you like this. You know my energy, okay?
Hmm.
You've been taught very well, and I'm gonna tell you one of my biggest secrets, okay? Every interview that I have gone into over the years, one of the things that I walk in there and say to myself is that no matter who you've brought in here, they wasn't trained by Ken Schwaber. So you know that you've been trained by me, and you know you've been trained the right way.
Hmm.
So you know that you take that with you. So walk in there with that pride that our tribe has, and our tribe has a lot of pride. I have a lot of people out there that are doing great things, and you're just one of the many that's going to be doing even greater things. So do not think that you don't have it. You do have it. When we did that Scrum class, we did Scrum in the class. When we did that product owner class, we built a product out. So you can do all that stuff. You got all the ability to do it. Now just add, you already got that business stuff, and just make it work as a nice package, right? And if you do that, you're going to win. It's already your job. What you talking about? I don't even know why you talking to me. It's already your job, right? You got to speak it into existence. That's what you got to do.
Right.
So I don't know what you
Hmm.
have you spoken into existence yet?
I have. I
Okay.
have. Because there are a few opportunities opportunities at least with interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for this one, I am the top candidate and I'm the most skilled. I already know that because they've told me that.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to just, look at everything that's coming my way because it's like it's raining right now
Yeah.
with all these different possibilities. And I'm where I want to be aligned is where, basically, like you said, what's going to be the best fit for me.
Yeah.
So it needs to be a win-win for them and also a win for me because if it's not, then I won't be interested,
And
you
I'll
know?
tell you this much, because Lizzie kind of threw this out there, and she said genealogy means a lot, and Bearded Eagle does it right. And I know
Mhm.
that's a little red and it's a little hard to see, but I'm gonna say this to you. I do jujitsu, right? And my lineage in terms of jujitsu goes to the actual cousins of the big people that made it, and then obviously the cousins are part of the big people that made it, and it comes directly from them. So I'm just a
Mhm.
couple of lines away from the people who actually made it, okay?
Mhm.
Who actually created the whole jujitsu movement, right? And
Mhm.
so lineage is really important. I stand on the shoulders of Ken and Jeff Sutherland. You stand on my shoulders. That lineage is super duper important. So don't think you don't have it. It's in your blood. It's dead smack in your blood, and don't think it's not. So go claim what's yours and don't let anybody deny you. And what I want you to really do is I want you to get and knock out two or three of these interviews and have two or three offers on the table at the same time.
Now I definitely received that. That's what I want too.
That's what I want. I want you to be able to choose between offers. So, and then you're in a position where you are in command of where you're going. And as long
Mm-hmm.
as you're in command of where you're going, can't nobody tell you nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can tell
Mm-hmm.
you nothing at that point. So
Mm-hmm.
just speak that into existence, make that happen because it's yours to go get at this point. So I can't wait till you get it. And
I
I'm and
know.
I'm
I'm
and
gonna
I,
tell you.
and I'm gonna say
Follow
you
up.
probably when this pandemic down, you owe me some lunch or something. I'm just saying.
I know, right? I know. Wow. I know this pandemic has got us. Thank you so much, Devon.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna check back in with you and let you know the results.
Please do, because we have had people who have checked back in, good or bad, different things. The idea is that people, I find that a lot of people are getting value out of the videos because they look at them later. Everybody doesn't
Mm-hmm.
show up tonight, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they look at these things later, and the question that you ask is a question that 10 other people will ask.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can say I've helped out at least 10 people. And
Mm-hmm.
as we grow it will continue to go down that way. So this is a good thing. I'm excited. I'm looking forward. So shoot me an email, let me know how it goes
I
regardless.
will.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
look, here's the deal. I'm going to say it to you like I always say it to myself. um if they don't give it to you, they stupid. But it was a practice interview anyway if they don't give it to you.
Right. Right.
On to the
Absolutely.
next one. On to the next one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You
Okay.
don't lose anything. Thank
No,
you
you
very
ain't losing
much.
nothing. No problem. Thank you for
Talk to you
coming.
later.
Talk to you later,
Yes.
okay?
Bye-bye.
Now everybody, that was excellent. We're gonna bring the next person in, but we talked about a lot of good things. Probably the most important thing that I would bring up is active listening. It is really imperative that you really hear what people are saying to you, so you hear the nuances of what they're saying. So and then you answer the questions in the right way or in multiple ways as you need to show them the difference between theory and reality. All that stuff is very very important, and it is something that I'm working on a lot of things. I have a whole like I have this unbelievable, one day you all will see it. I have this unbelievable like I don't know, mind mapping that I have a bunch of articles that I'm gonna write, and I've been working on it for months, and I need to start putting out some of that stuff out there. But I got several things coming up in interviewing, and I'll tell you some of those topics like get the job essential interview tips, job interview finesse, find out what you really want, what will you do when you get a video interview, ace your next job interview by listening better, 13 simple ways to shake off the jitters before a job interview. These are things that I'll be putting it out there for you all to consume in the future. So make sure that you become a part of the actual tribe. That's what I'd ask you to do. On that note, we're going to continue. I'm going to say, hey, first and foremost, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like. That's all important. So, want to make sure you do that. You have questions, you know how to join us in terms of the Discord. There's nothing new and different about that. We always throw that on the screen as well. So then you at least have an idea of what that is. So please join us if you have an opportunity to do that. If you have any questions, do that in the future. We're going to move on to our next caller. And our next caller is waiting in the room for us. And I'm going to bring them up real quick. And there we go. Sharon, I think I caught you. Did I catch you off guard,
Yeah,
Sharon? Are you ready
yeah.
here?
I thought I wasn't gonna be on the video, but I
Oh, well,
will.
Sharon, you should have. But Sharon, you are loved by me. No question.
That's all right. I'm a little sick today. Got all this pollen in Atlanta is killing me.
Well, you
So,
know what? Hey, it is what it is. Hey,
okay,
look,
it is,
let me
man.
tell you, your parents did a good job, even though they
Um,
gave you allergies.
okay, all right, all right. Well, good. I've been listening a little bit to what you were saying.
Hmm.
That sounds like really good information.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to talk to you about is I have been interviewing just probably since December, a
Hmm.
couple of interviews that have come up that I was really baffled to hear them say, yeah, I'm glad you got your Scrum certification, but what I want to know is why aren't you, really deep into SAFe as well?
Okay.
And so I'm like, well, I know SAFe, but I'm not certified in it. So I found a couple of times where they were like really kind of bummed out that I didn't have the SAFe certification.
Okay.
I took your class back in January of last year
Hmm.
and was ready to go and get a role as a Scrum Master. But of course, COVID happened to everybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's true.
as you know, I was looking for opportunities, especially after the summertime. Really looking for opportunities where I can get in here and get my feet wet with the Scrum. But like I said, I was really shocked that a couple people kept saying, "Well, you really need to be SAFe certified," while I was going down the road of trying to really get into the ITL as well as the Scrum. So, what my
Okay.
question is to you,
Hmm.
it seems like for a lot of the opportunities, these two are coupled together, SAFe and Scrum. And have you known that to be the case?
It is. You have to remember that um, at the base of SAFe is Scrum Extreme Programming. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what I'm gonna do for you, Sharon, just to make sure you're good, is I'm gonna put the silhouette up there so nobody can see you.
Thank you. Thank
No
you.
problem. There you go. I took care of it. All right. So here's the deal. Scrum and SAFe
Mhm.
are at this point in history almost analogous with the word agile. You know how back in the day, Sharon, you hear people say um, Scrum Agile.
Uh-huh.
Now you hear a lot of people saying Agile Safe, Agile
That's
Safe.
exactly what I'm hearing.
Okay, and it's become that thing that a lot of organizations, especially large organizations, right, are
Hmm.
doing. There's no question that SAFe has taken the world by storm. There's no question about that, because you have to remember that there was a hole in the marketplace, and the hole was you had all these base level frameworks, but none of them really gave you a good idea on how to deal with multiple teams. Okay, and so with the name SAFe, with the word itself being safe, it's
Hmm.
perfect in terms of marketing. And there are many organizations that expect safe. So if I am searching for a job right now, I'm getting the safe certification. Period.
Got you.
If I was to say very truthful to you in terms of Bearded Eagle, as a company, we could actually have safe trainers working for us with no problem. We just don't. Not because we don't like safe. We love safe. We love everybody in safe. Um, but the idea, though, is that I never been one to jump out on any framework that's not at the base level, and any scaling tools I haven't jumped out on, because I believe that each one of the scaling frameworks or scaling options that are available offer you something in terms of as an organization. So the large enterprise scaled agile, you think about Nexus, you think about Scrum at scale, you think about Safe. Safe though, I would not be looking for a job today in this space without having some Safe associated with me.
Okay.
It's just, it's just one of those facts, right? And in it being one of those facts, it is one of those things that I always say to people, Sharon, and you may have heard me say this before. There's one thing to be dogmatic about something. It's another thing when you want to get paid.
Right, right.
And if you want to get paid, you probably need to be safe certified. It is what people are paying for inside of organizations.
Mm.
Organizations are spending outlaying a tremendous amount of cash in order to do something that may or may not work for them. And the thing that's been so amazing for Bearded Eagle is that we have always had a lot of failures that have come back to us when it comes to people that have tried to scale or tried to do Scrum, things of that nature. It gives us an opportunity to do what we have deemed or called a trademark as an agile rehab. And so we always find ourselves doing these agile rehabs. And obviously, we have had more agile rehabs since SAFe has come out that are related to SAFe because SAFe has become the most popular. So, in terms of looking at my data, I know without looking at any job recs whatsoever that SAFe is the most popular of all of them because we get more agile rehab opportunities that are associated with SAFe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Because no organization is going to do anything 100% the way it's expected. And when you don't, it just is going to cause some difficulties and problems. Okay. Now, that being said, having the SAFe certification is going to open doors for you. Now, I recommend anybody that is listening, that is watching, I recommend you do yourself a huge favor. Okay. Whenever you are getting into the marketplace, go find a job. Well, no, go determine what certifications that you're going to have by looking or determining what the market is looking for. Okay. So when I was coming up, what I did is I looked at the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, BLS.gov, and BLS.gov has an occupational handbook. Okay. And that occupational handbook gives you a kind of outlook of job markets over the next 10 years. Okay. I always go and take a look at that. And when it comes to college students that I talk to, when it comes to my kids, when it comes to any young person that I talk to, I give them this advice too. So there's no reason why you can't use it. And by looking at that outlook, it gives me an idea of what kind of jobs is going to be out there, at least from what they're proposing. And they do their studies or whatever they do, right? And that gives me titles, that gives me different things, that gives me different industries to look at, right? But here's the deal. By looking at that and getting an idea what the outlook is, it also, I can pair that up with the research that I'm going to do once I go looking for a particular type of job and see what they're posting. Now, the key statement for me is to try to find companies that are really posting. Because one of the problems that you have is a company will put a rec out there and then a bunch of consulting companies will grab it to go try to fill it. And so you'll see a lot of the same similar stuff. So you see the same exact stuff in a city. It could be that that's for one company. So I'd imagine like big folks like an AT&T or Verizon, that's how they operate, right?
Right,
So
right.
I'm going out there next to see when I go look at a Scrum job or a job that's in Agile in general, what certifications are they asking for? What's on that list? Okay.
Mm. Mm.
Now, in terms of that, I go back and I say to myself, well, all right, I go look at these different jobs and I go look at these certifications. And then based on how much I see what's there, then I go after it. I go after those things. So for me in 2005, there was no such thing as safe, But I was in from 2000 probably two until 2004. I'm over here trying to leave a company and trying to figure out the best way to leave the company and trying to figure out what I need to study for and everything else. And so I bumped into Scrum, but I had to go get that PMP. I had to go get that PMP. I had to go get that PMP back then because the magic combination, the magic combination was a CSM and a actual PMP. Back then, there was no such thing as a PSM. Back then, there was no such thing as these other organizations that exist that does Scrum certifications. It was only CSM. So CSM and PMP was the magical combination. ITIL wasn't that tough. And I heard you say ITIL, and even though I like ITIL, the problem I have with ITIL is that if you go look up ITIL and you go look up Scrum, you're probably going to see a lot more jobs with Scrum.
Right.
Now, you go look up the combination of ITIL and Scrum, you're probably not going to see as many jobs as you would see as Scrum and Safe.
Yeah. That's been
You
the case.
understand? So
Hmm.
now you have to ask yourself, what's the perfect combination of things to do? What is that combination that is going to keep you earning? And then you need to also look at something else that's really important. You need to find some of those opportunities and see what kind of money that they're offering. See what the ranges are in terms of dollars. Because you have to remember another thing. Is certifications have a long tail for dying out sometimes.
Yeah.
And as they go down, what happens is people they earn less and less money on those same things. Just less and less over time. So you don't want to be in it as a late adopter because that's when you start earning less money. You want to be in
Yeah.
it as an early adopter leading into the big curve, right? That's where
Right.
you want to be with any of these things. And Safe still has an upward momentum. It
That's
still
what I
has an
was
upward
wondering.
it still has an upward momentum. But does ITIL have an upward momentum right now? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say yes to that, but I can't say no because I haven't researched it. But from
Yeah.
my perspective, I would think that it's somewhere different and it's becoming more of a commodity that is associated with service. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does, and that's true. That's true.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
just a different way of thinking is really what it is. And what I'm really
exactly.
asking you to do is just do your research because the
Gotcha.
research is what's going to tell you what's going to be the next outlook. For me, Scrum has done me well, and the PMP has done me well for my period of time. But remember, my period of time started in '05.
Right, right.
Does that make sense? So,
Yeah, that does. That does.
right now,
Um,
as I think about you, I need you to do that research and pull
gotcha.
out those magical pieces. You had another question.
Yeah, the other thing is, because I am out here trying to feel my way as to how I can enter the market as the Scrum Master, even though I have background kind of operating more of a product owner
Hmm.
with AT&T. I'm really trying to figure out how can I find some way to get the experience. As you know, I've been, working a little bit with you, but I'm looking at would it probably help for me to even volunteer at some of these organizations just to be able to get my feet wet.
If
'Cause
they
I
will
really
let you volunteer, volunteer. If they will let
okay,
you, a lot of organizations don't do it. If they will let you
yeah,
volunteer, volunteer. I will also say find a contract.
yeah. That's what I'm working on now is a an organization that is willing to talk to me more about contracts,
Hmm.
and it's really a nonprofit. It's a nonprofit. So
Okay.
I'm trying to see if I can maybe even get on the nonprofit. Maybe not as much money, but again, I think it's very important for me to really get some true work experience in this. I
Yeah,
have
and
what
and I would say
work
that's
experience
true.
with product owner though,
I
but
would
I
say that's
wanted to
true.
install.
I would say that's true. I mean, one of the first few places that we did training with was a non for profit in Chicago called Awana Clubs, and Awana
Mhm.
Clubs helped us out as a company tremendously because it was just one of those companies we was able to put on the books, and by putting them on the books, they were non for profit. We had we got a contract with them, but I'm gonna be truthful with you, Sharon.
Mhm.
My career is employee Then when I moved on and I got into Scrum, I was actually a contractor. Then I
Mhm.
moved on to another place, contractor. Then to another
Mhm.
place, contractor. Then to another place, employee for like 2 to 3 months, and I got fired.
Yeah.
And then it was contractor, 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 bearded eagle.
Gotcha.
So my entire, so for all these things I've said I've done, I was not an employee for the organization. I literally was not. But I worked so deeply in the organization that it felt like I was a part of the organization. So, a couple things that people have asked here is, and I'll throw these on the screen here, and hopefully you all can see it. Any recommended safe trainings? I don't have a lot of people I trust that do safe trainings, but just start off at the most basic safe agilist level. Just start there, and then determine where you want to go from there. But start off at the most basic level, so then at least you're getting that in and get that first test out the way. That way you're getting your feet kind of wet. So that's where I would start at if I'm starting to safe. I'm starting at that most base level and then finding ways to upscale that. They have all kinds of certifications. Related to product owner or product managers, they may call it today, related to the scrum master, related to the release train engineer, or various facilitators. So they have all kinds of certifications, but start at the most basic foundational levels with what you're most interested in. So if scrum master is what you're moving at, RT, move in that direction, move in whatever direction you're most interested in, because they have several certifications. Okay, so that's the advice that I would give. Another thing that I would say in terms of find a contract, what do I mean by a contract? And I remember sharing, I'm elaborating on this one because someone brought it up. But I remember when I did the very first training, this very first thing, you said, "Hey, I wanted to hear more about a pilot." So let me tell you what I mean by a contract as well, people, okay? What happens is a lot of organizations, they don't always hire employees. So what they will do is they will get a consulting organization or some organization to bring bodies in terms of time and materials. And they would actually just be doing straight time, straight hours. They would come in and serve a direct functional purpose of what they're trying to fill. So, for example, an organization is just getting into Scrum. They don't know who the right person is, so they may get a organization or find an independent contractor that has that skill that can help them for the next 6 months. And they come in at a contract. They likely come in at a higher rate, higher price. They won't get any benefits, anything like that. But the key statement is this: where you can find a lot of contractors is associated with agile, scrum, safe group meetings. So you know how we have meetups and all these little professional groups that happen. As the
Mhm.
economy gets better, you're gonna find that there's always a recruiter that shows up to one of those events. Always.
Okay.
It always happens. I've been to some of those events and it's more recruiters there than it is people interested in learning the topic. So
Okay.
use that as one of your advantages, because one of the things is I have had people from some of these large consulting organizations that will send their people to get the CSM certification, the CSPO certification, even though they're never going to use it in that way, just so they can better recruit, just so they can better
Gotcha.
recruit, right? And so you have this happening. I had one in class this month, actually, literally one in class this month that worked with one of these big organizations, and he was really there just to learn more so he can write better job recs. He can do a better job at screening people, right? So they can get the right customer, like right person in for whatever client that they're trying to fill a job for. So, contract work is a good way to get a lot of great experience. So I definitely would think about getting contract work. And if you work on getting contract work with a lot of these major with some one of these major organizations, it's going to make your life a little bit easier. You can see stated right here, even though I just made that too big, you can see stated right here. The same idea is that there are several things there in terms of safe. So take a look at those certifications. Again, product owner, product manager, agile product manager, APM. Those are ones that I would think about in terms of safe. So good. Thanks, Vinay. So that being said, finding contract work will probably be the easier thing to do versus anything else. And I would be thinking about contract work because if you get in a contract, hey, it's more risky for sure. But the one thing is that you can get fired from anybody. Anybody can let you go. Companies don't
Right.
have loyalty to you, they have loyalty to themselves. So
Right.
I would, if it's me, I would just find any place I can, contract and get on board with them, and then let
Mhm.
myself move forward from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's super difficult when it comes to contracts because the one thing that I find to be accurate is recently, probably in the past week or so, I just went out to some job site and I just looked, right? And everything that I saw there was contract work. Like there were like two or three companies of the 20 that I looked at that wasn't, that was like a real company that were hiring for themselves. Everything
Mhm.
else was contract work, period. So I
Yeah.
definitely would move in that direction in terms of thinking contract work. That's probably an easier end. That's an easier end than probably anything else. Because if you think about my work at USA, I was a contractor. Both times I
Okay.
was at USA, for as long as I was at both USA, I was at USA in total for 2 to 3 years in total. But all that work I was there for was contract work.
Okay.
Never as an employee. I was never an employee of USA. So I would walk. I would walk in that basement. I remember one time, Sharon. I walked in that basement. Right. They had
Right.
this whole 1 mile thing, like a mile and a half. You walk from one. They had 7 buildings connected. Right. And so you walk from one end to the next, and you walk one end all the way down and back. That was a mile and a half. Right. And so people would be down there working out. Right. In this little basement area down there. Right. And so here's the deal, man. I'm walking down there, man. I'm looking at the screen, and they said. They literally said, this year, we're going to give 18% bonus. I said, what? I said, what? I was upset. I was like, you don't get that to the contractors. I was very upset. I said, I'm becoming an employee right now. I am going to become an employee. I am not going to miss out on these 18% bonuses. I didn't become an
Saying all
employee.
now, right?
Oh yeah, man, I was uptight. I was really uptight, but I was very proud. I was very happy because I know that my efforts helped to get them that 18%.
Right.
Oh man, I know it did for real. So I was very, very proud of that. So that was a good thing. So yeah, so I would say to you, Sharon, that um, don't give up the effort on it. Continue to try, continue to move forward. But I would say it's not just about doing volunteer work. I'd rather for you to get paid to do what you do. The other thing that I would say is you worked for AT&T.
Mhm.
Go find a job with Verizon.
Actually, I'm talking to T-Mobile now.
Go find a job with T-Mobile. You know
Yeah.
that guy, the guy that's Deadpool in the Marvel universe. I forget his name, whatever his name is. But he played
Mhm.
Deadpool in the Marvel universe. And he owns this thing called Mint Mobile. Go with Mint Mobile. It doesn't matter. The point is, um, it's for me. It was always easier to jump jobs in within their competition.
Right.
It was
That's a
always easier. It was always easier for me to seek out their competition and jump to a job that their competition has. But it's just because it's their competition have. Because once they see whatever's on my resume and is associated with it, then it just jumps there. I know that in some places, like when you go down to Orlando or you go down to Miami, right? In terms of the yeah, there we go. Ryan Reynolds, that dude. Thanks, Miss Hancock. So when you go down to Miami, you go down to places like Orlando. Like, for example, if you go to Orlando, you will notice that there are a lot of people that have worked at all those parks. There's several people
Yeah.
that's worked at all those parks, right? If you go down to
Uh-huh.
Miami, and if you became a part of the actual cruise line industry, you'll find there were several people that worked for a lot of those cruise lines, right? Because you just find a way to cycle in and cycle out of those places, because there's something about already being a part of that where people have no problem. It's easier for them to bring you in because you have some experience in that arena. So that's how I would be thinking. And based on news, AT&T is hurting in a different way than Verizon, right?
Yeah.
T-Mobile just acquired Sprint. Yeah, they definitely got scrum stuff they're going to be doing. There's still
Right.
tons of remote jobs. I've talked to several people that have remote jobs in mind, right? And looking for other remote jobs. So I would be looking in that same industry and go after it that way, and just be dogmatic about it, and really, really do a hardcore search. I'd be connecting with people that are part of those organizations, seeing if they have any public things that they offer, and just kind of going at it that way. And you like, you probably still know some people at AT&T, so I'd be trying to figure out who I still know, what's happening inside the organization, and then kind of
Right.
going from there. So I definitely would be thinking about trying to network my way back in too, or to someplace else, because people move on to these other organizations too. So
Yeah.
you
I
definitely have
found.
options.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of good contacts through the group called WIT, Women in Technology.
Yeah,
So that's, I've found some pretty good ones. So you make some good sense. What you're telling me, I really am so thankful for what you told me about BOS. I,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah. That's a good resource.
yeah,
And I've been using
yeah,
it for years. It's almost like it's like not a secret anymore, because I
right.
told everybody about it now. But it is
I think
my
the thing is
secret.
I just strategize. I just got to strategize here.
So
Yeah.
if it's me, in terms of remote jobs, I'd be looking at, remote jobs are interesting, um, because I there's a breadth of where people can search across the planet for a remote job, but I think people still want people that are fairly local to the job. If they really think about it, unless that organization has decided to go permanently and go, move in this
Hmm.
direction. So we have somebody that works with us, as a moderator volunteer, and
Hmm.
this person has gotten a job where they're going to be remote the rest of their life, and that's cool. But then if you ask people who I mentored who got jobs that are far away from DFW, those people will expect them to go there once the pandemic dies down.
Yeah.
So I'd be really careful about remote jobs and what their expectations are once things go back to normal. And then, if you like the job, you're not all of a sudden quitting. In terms of finding those kind of jobs, realistically, I think it's going to be this. I think it's the same way as it once was, back in the day. The only difference is you're not face to face.
Right.
So for me, from the people that I've known, from the people that I've talked to in terms of remote jobs, it's been it's been mostly the same way, same thing. People dress up for them. People still do, the several interviews that get to them. It's been pretty much set up the same way. So I don't see major differences in them. I just see that the actual, people who are opening up for those jobs, they just have more people to pick from. So you got to make sure that you are a good fit into them. I mean, I got another one
Yeah.
of my mentees who really got a job in Portland, but he's here in DFW,
Okay.
and just works with them every day. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's like nothing different. And they hired him, on the spot remotely, right? So, I don't think it's too different from all the people that I've talked to. It's just they have more options. That's the problem. All
Right.
right, so then this is good, Sharon. Now I'm gonna say this so now I can, right? So everybody knows Sharon actually helps out as a volunteer and a moderator. So she knows she can ask me these questions behind the scenes too, because a lot of people that's behind the scenes do ask questions. So make sure, Sharon, as this show is going to get bigger, so make sure you add this show to your resume.
Well, I will do. Thank you so much. I will do. Thank you so much.
So are you good, Sharon?
Yeah, I am. I am. You gave me some good info and some good food for thought.
Okay. All right. Well, you know where I am at. You know where I'm at. You got my email and
I know.
everything.
I got you.
All right,
I
then,
got
Sharon.
you. Thank you.
All right. You have a good night. Okay.
You too.
All right. Bye bye. Okay, everyone. That wasn't. Yeah. Hey, man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. We've gone a little bit longer than what I was expecting. It looked like it's 10 minutes after, but that's okay. I didn't want to stop. I wanted to continue that, finish out that conversation with Sharon. I don't see anybody in our green room, because I'd go longer if somebody was in our green room. And I would agree with Vinay. There is a new normal here. There's absolutely a new normal. So being being good with time zones, comfortable with time zone differences is super important in today's world. So I am going to say that I agree with that 100%. It's interesting because Vinay was in my, well, I think in Lizzie's class 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe even 4 years ago, like 2017, I think, right? And now has come back for a refresher, because one of the things that we do in terms of Bearded Eagle is we actually allow alumni to come back for a one-time refresher. They want to come back, come back. You don't have to pay no money for that. So know that if you're an alum, you get to come back and check out the class that you took. Don't be trying to take no other classes, though. So when you're ready, come on back. Now, that being said, I am going to say, though, in terms of remote jobs, I would agree that we will never get back to what we had before. I don't see no reason to go back to what we had before. A lot of organizations, this distributed environment is working for them, and they will be able to kind of get rid of assets that are just expenses. Like having an office is an expense, right? And they'll be able to get rid of those things. And if Bearded Eagle trains online only, for example, there's no reason for us to keep our office. We haven't used our office in over a year, right? And I know of organizations that have been at 25% since then, only emergency folks that's taking care of databases and stuff like that in the organization. So I would be very, very careful in terms of it. But it is part of that new normal. I think we will kind of get back there, but I think 25% of this stuff will remain the same. Okay. So on that note, this has been amazing. I enjoyed tonight. I had fun. Hopefully you had a little bit of fun. We talked about a lot of things. Didn't get into anything super specific, but the idea is that we did want to talk about interviewing tonight. So hopefully you got some value from the things that we talked about. Again, I'm going to say one more time to you. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you click the notification bell, because guess what? We go live like 10 minutes before, and that's going to let you know we're going. When you have an opportunity, join our email list, because I send out emails to let people know about this event happening, plus other things happening. Another thing that I'm going to do for people that are in our alumni, for people that are subscribed to the list, I'm going to send an email probably on Wednesday about a brand and land session. Some of you were interested in the brand and land session. I'm going to send an email about that, and then you can attend the brand and land session that's being done by one of Bearded Eagle's alumni, but being done for PMI chapter. It was an amazing 5-hour thing that actually helped people land jobs. So you're interested in that? I'm going to send it out to at least our mailing list. If you're not a part of our mailing list, then just go to devonmorris.com, and go to the bottom, and then there's a little box down there that says keep in touch. Enter your email in there, and I'll add you to the list. Okay, so devonmorris.com. Go to the bottom. You'll see a footer there. Add your email to there, and I will add you to that list. So on that note, I'm going to say, I love y'all. So this is your man here. I will see y'all next week, same time. I don't know what the topic is going to be, but we're going to have fun with the next topic. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Monday. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon. Thank you, thank you, thank you.